Okay, now, problem is that what happens when you expose nurses to this type of atmosphere? Okay, there's a much higher rate of job turnover. Okay, so staffing levels are a problem. I'm not going to use the word I was going to use. Okay, staffing levels are often a problem in nursing because we do tend to move around pretty quickly. And, you know, it results in litigation, believe it or not, okay? So at some point, you know, nurses who have been bullied or persecuted otherwise will often say, hey, I'm talking to my lawyer. Okay, okay, it also increases the use of sick time. Okay, you know, what happens if you're very unhappy going into your shift? Okay, if you got sick time, you're going to want to use it. Okay, and when you use your sick time, okay, somebody else is caught holding the dirty end of the stick. Okay, the people you work with, your colleagues, your peers. All right, okay, thanks. Okay, now, for the good news, okay, or, you know, a different look at things, at some progress we've made, okay, that the gay rights movement was established. Does anybody know when? May I have the next slide, Dr. Singer? And you know what? Don't be afraid to answer. I hear some answers, okay? But if you know the answer, you know, say it. Or if you think you know the answer, say it, okay? It all started in the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village in 1969. The Stonewall Inn, yes, I'm sorry, in New York, in the Greenwich Village in New York, which had long been a haven for people of, you know, alternative preferences, gender preferences, okay? Okay, the Stonewall Inn was a common meeting place, watering hole, as we might phrase it now, where people, you know, gay, lesbian people congregated, okay, and the police were called. You know, maybe the crowd had gotten boisterous, maybe the music was too loud, maybe there were more people than the inn could handle and they were spilling out into the streets. Okay, but the police were called and the crowd was dispersed by riot squads. Okay, well, not to be outdone, they came back and protested, okay, the following night. Okay, this was, again, the origin of the gay rights movement, and it inspired the formation of many gay, lesbian organizations. I'm sorry?
I think there was a movie that was filmed.
Really?
That was filmed in relation to that.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they did also that Stonewall Inn.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I just forgot the actor, but because I saw the movie.
Okay. I'd like to see it. It's probably Stonewall.
That is where they started. Yeah, I saw the movie. There was a movie.
Okay, if it had not been for harassment at the Stonewall Inn, gay and lesbian and transgender people would likely still be hiding in the closet, so to speak. Okay. Okay, now the American Psychiatric Association, interestingly enough, has gone through a period where at one point homosexuality was included as a psychiatric illness, okay, a sexual deviation, Okay. Now, the reason why I have it circled and up at the top of the list, I finally figured out was because this list probably refers to the frequency with these types of quote disorders are found. Okay. In 1980, homosexuality was still considered a problem, but the American Psychiatric Association finally got around to removing it from the DSM. Now, does anybody know what the DSM is? Yes? Manual. Thank you. Yes. Yes, yes. It is the book that classifies. Right, right. Thank you, thank you. Yes. In 1980, the APA finally got around, and that's not to be confused with the American Psychological Association, which publishes the guidelines for publication. Mm-hmm.
We met him. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us acknowledge our university president, Mr. Marco Alfredo Benitez, please. Sir, can you please? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Welcome po.
I'm sorry she had to disturb your...
Gonna take a break, yeah. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes, I'm just looking and noticing that time is probably becoming of an essence. Okay, so I'll try to move it along pretty much more rapidly. Okay. At any rate, with the removal of homosexuality as an illness or disorder from the DSM, which has gone through multiple revisions. Now we're on 5. Or is it 6? No, APA manual is 6. DSM is 5. Okay, it shows that there's an increased awareness that, you know what, it's normal to be different from everybody else. Okay, we don't all fit the same cookie cutter presentation of what may be considered normal. Okay? May I? Okay. Now that I've talked about the environment of hostility and persecution that gays and lesbians have been, and transgender folks have been subject to, what do you think has happened? Okay, you've heard the expression coming out of the closet. Okay, stepping out of the closet. Okay, well, people have not been still very willing to do that in many cases, and they tend to protect this information, and protecting this information can be problematic. Okay, if people are reticent to disclose who they are and what they are, it can cause other problems in terms of delivery of health care. Okay. Transgender males may be given information about birth control and menstruation and that sort of thing. Okay. Be subject to pregnancy tests. Okay, in which somebody goes into the ER if you're a female in what is assumed to be childbearing age. They do a pregnancy test. Anybody know why? Because nobody wants to prescribe something that may be teratogenic, okay, to a woman who might be pregnant, okay? Talk about litigation and lawsuits, okay, as well as tragedy, okay? Okay. And I think this is from 2013, and I'm sorry, might be 2011, okay? There was a symposium of people who got together in, I believe it was Singapore, okay, which is considered one of the most gay-friendly countries in the world, okay, and a series of principles were put forward. Now, those originally, I think there were 10 or 11 principles, okay, and now there are more than 32 principles. I thought this was one of the most appropriate one, that everyone has the right to be free from criminalization and any form of sanction arising either directly or indirectly from that person's actual perceived gender or gender identity, okay? Or, of course, expression of sexual, gender identity and sexual characteristics, okay? Now, in a survey of 69 countries, and just, you know, to back up a little bit, in a survey of 69 countries in the world, okay, 17 were selected as the most gay-friendly places. In other words, good places for people to live, who are gay or lesbian or transgender, okay? And the Philippines, well, of that survey of 69 countries, 17 were selected. Did I say that? I probably said that already. The Philippines ranked number 10, okay, which I thought was pretty cool, okay? Of course, it could be better. 10 of 17 is not real high on the list, okay, but it's not real low. But the groups and organizations that have been founded by people of alternative expression, okay, were not happy with this. In other words, there's a lot of work to be done. Okay, there's a lot of work to be done. Okay, okay. This is part of the same survey I talked about young women and the incidence of suicidal ideation versus suicidal completion. Okay, 84% of Filipino males with same-sex attraction, I think I got those out of sequence, same-sex attraction report suicidal ideation. Okay, again, that was more than 8,000 males, who were surveyed, who were caught in the survey. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this was interesting. Okay, now I did an internet search, and there is a organization, Transgender Philippines, or transph.org. Okay, for those of you who are interested in verifying some of this. Okay, now there are more organizations, and I didn't give a number here because you know what? When I started to count, okay, I stopped counting. Okay, I stopped counting at 20. Okay, and that's in Metro Manila alone. Okay, organizations that support or provide some kind of support services for this segment of the population. Okay, Cebu was right up there. Okay, the Visayas, okay, a few less, still not a bad representation, though. Okay, there were more than at that point I wanted to count. Okay, Mindanao has only one. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into the political aspects of state persecution and everything like that. Okay. These are provinces that have anti-discrimination laws, okay, in the Philippines. Okay. And a timeline of when they were first starting to, were first conceived or put into progress, into place. And as you can see, Albay was the first. It was the first I could find. Again, much of this information is available also on that same website, okay, transphilippinesph.org, okay? And others are following suit, okay? And these are anti-discrimination laws in terms of, discriminating against people, again, because of their sexual preferences or appearance, okay? Now, just when you look at that, okay, I want you to think in terms of one of the early slides I showed you, okay, that there are less than 15% of Filipinos live in areas that are protected by such anti-discrimination laws, okay? As many islands and municipalities are shown, okay, you know what, there's a lot of work to be done, okay? And I'm not just, again, as I said, it's not much better in the States. It's getting better, but then again, remember, that's where the whole movement started, okay? Remember Stonewall, okay, becomes a rallying cry. Okay, but in the year 2000, Vermont became the first state of the Union to legitimize same-sex marriages, okay? In 2017, there was a national act, okay, the Equality Act, prohibiting discrimination in healthcare based on sexual gender identification. Sorry, that's a run-on. Must have been tired when I was doing that. Okay, now that is one of the key things that, again, referring to an earlier slide, that the Philippines is lacking, okay, is a national law proclaiming, prohibiting discrimination based in administration or receipt of health care based on preferences, okay? The Philippines, no, that's okay. That's a, oh, okay, I jumped the gun. Next slide. Okay, I already went over that the Philippines rated number 10 of 17 in the gay-friendly rating scale. Okay, choices, all right. You have a choice. You have a choice of your healthcare provider, typically. Hopefully you have a choice of healthcare providers. Okay, but in 2011, okay, the Joint Commission, okay, formerly known as the Joint Commission of Accreditation for Hospitals and Nursing Homes, now we just call it the Joint, right? The Joint Commission's in, okay, which usually sets scrambling, okay, because they have very high standards for for administering healthcare. They have high standards for healthcare institutions. Okay, and if you don't meet those standards, or your hospital does not meet those standards, okay, you become ineligible to receive national health insurance, AKA Medicare and Medicaid. Okay, often they're depending upon the level of I'm going to say egregiousness of the facility, they may be given a grace period to implement changes, to demonstrate changes in their performance. Okay, they may not. Okay, but these are just some guidelines that the Joint put out, okay, back in 2011. Okay. Now I see same-gender bathrooms all over now, okay, which is great, okay? They didn't used to be prominent in hospitals, okay? They have to display in large print, okay, in prominent areas that there is an anti-discrimination, okay, law that protects them, okay, that protects everybody. For Core 4, okay, again, this is in the States, okay, facilities that meet the Core 4, okay, are rated, again, by, gay, lesbian organizations, support groups, as being the most gay-friendly facilities. Okay. All right. So, and they provide free online training in LGBT-sensitive areas, which I remember I said that this was my graduate thesis or my graduate project that I was scrambling for. Part of this was put in place at the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley as part of their, staff education initiative. Okay. Free online training, okay, as Dr. Sager mentioned, free courses online for promoting or making people more aware of transcultural issues and trends, okay? And I think most important here is the one in green, okay? Don't assume the gender identity of someone you're taking care of. Okay, remember that this can lead to problems in the administration of or performance of healthcare. Okay, asking your transgender males when was their last menstrual period. What's wrong with that? They don't have them. Okay. Doing pregnancy tests, as I said, because, for example, in an emergency room, nobody wants to give care or prescribe any medication, okay, until they've verified that the patient they're looking at, or treating, I should say, is not pregnant. Okay, because none of us, and I say us, because as a nurse practitioner I'm prescribing, okay, none of us wants to be the one to prescribe a teratogenic agent to a pregnant woman. Okay, okay. This is an initiative that was started by the Vanderbilt University Hospital and the Joint Commission. Okay, it is a program, again, for making the environment, the institution, gay-friendly, shall we say. But not just gay-friendly, but, making people aware that, that there are things that can be done, okay? Trans Buddy program, okay, pairs patients with trained volunteers, okay, to help them navigate the system in terms of what healthcare options may be available for them, okay? Transgender health, okay, they have 2 clinics, okay, one for adults and one for children that are specifically geared towards transgender population. A community advisory board. Now, this is like really important, okay? Because how do you know if you're meeting your goals unless you've started to talk to people in the community, okay? And had people in the community who are experiencing the care that the institution provides. Okay, and so the community advisory board has to have a certain percentage of people from the community, and preferably a percentage of the people on the community board, okay, should be of an alternative gender preference. And again, and when I use the word alternative, I just mean different than, you know, than the heterosexual preference that is assumed to be the norm. Okay, and monitoring and evaluating. Again, how do you know if you're meeting your goals? And future directions. Okay, that leads me to my next slide. Okay. Remember, well, maybe it's the one after that, but that's okay. Remember, as I said, it's the individual's right and prerogative to disclose or not disclose their gender identity. Okay? If they are in the process of coming out, okay, they need help. Okay? Again, remembering that the gay rights movement started in 1969, and yeah, so it's come a long way. Okay, it's been a tough row to hoe, and that is the image again of where it all started: the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village, New York. Okay, and next slide, Dr. Sager. Yes, these are questions that I thought might be.
Let's ask them about how are we moving in terms of time. Did we like go into the parade?
Well, I started at 9:20, okay, which I checked the time when I came up. Okay, it's 9:15.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sagar. We will have a 10-minute break. Is it okay with you? Then our students can formulate questions, okay, later on. So, okay, let's...
Right, if we got the time, we thought it would be nice for people to start working on some issues.
A workshop afterwards, okay?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what will they prepare for the workshop? Do they need paper, pencil? Group themselves together?
They need to be willing to talk to each other.
Oh.
Okay, okay. Now, I was going to say this, and I'm glad to see you guys are a little bit more vocal, okay, than the student body at Silliman University who said absolutely nothing when questions were asked. Yes. Okay, and you guys are better. You know, but again, you're in a bigger city. Okay.
Ma'am, can you?
Ito, ma'am, ito.
There is.
Now I remember the Stonewall Inn because in 1995, there was the 12th World Congress on Human Sexuality that was done in Japan. And I was invited as one of the speakers, and my topic was gender sensitivity in nursing. And I remember it very well also that one of the speaker, who was a doctor from Europe, explained how they do the procedure in terms of surgery on sex change. And I remember because it was a 3-day congress, and one of the participants is from New York. And we became close, and he was the one who mentioned to me about the stone wall because he is a member. And he was the one who told me that there will be a movie coming out regarding, these things. But I cannot remember the title. But the actor on that movie, in fact, I think got a Best Actor award from that movie because of his portrayal of that. So it's just a form of sharing of my experience regarding this human sexuality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's take a 10-minute break. Okay, sir, can you, there is a medyo konting merienda po, okay, to prepare ourselves. Thank you, ma'am. Please have a seat over there.
3, and 4. Okay, group 1 and 2 will do bullet number 2, which is my 10-year-old child is being bullied at school. They are calling him fairy, bakla, dyke, tomboy. So you will come up with 2 interventions given the scenario. So this is group 1 and 2 will do bullet number 2. And groups 3 and 4 will do bullet number 3. My partner and I were refused care at a local emergency room. It's the last one. It's not bulleted too highly, so we'll just... okay, is it clear? So you're gonna be talking for, in the interest of time, maybe 7 minutes, because it's a short scenario, to come up with 2 interventions. We're not asking for too many. 2 interventions. In other words, what nursing care or what caregiving techniques you would do. So is it clear? Thank you. So you're gonna take over. So 10 minutes. Okay, then.
Okay, students, we will give you 2 to 3 minutes more to complete your output. Then the team leader will come here to present the approaches that you have. So you have to assign 1 leader per group. Okay, may I request the faculty in charge to facilitate and help out the students in doing their approaches.
Oh, they will. You shouldn't bring it in. I should not bring it.
Yeah, ours.
Siguro, sir, sometimes sabi ko, parang sa isang bulan pa here. Medyo kayo ng more close kayo natin eh. Pero what is great, kasi naman nasa except the chief nurse, we have a very good relationship naman with the yeah, for internship. Pero yung kanila, for education. Ano those schools are, they want PFC to be their para practical science for their school. Kasi sir, JCR accredited, which is more affordable than Makati Med kasi medyo so, yung PSC is just there. Kasi sa atin yun. Remember that time with STI? Pero nawala na siya. And now we are reviving the memorandum of agreement with the Manila Health. Good naman, biglang balik-balik. Sir, alam ko, maraming beses na po kami basta 10 years na po. Then next yun lang ang wala ko assurance. Pero nasa pag-usap, ginagawa ko na yung let's say ngayon midterm. Sinasabihin ko na so this is your subject for the next step. Please reserve your time before you accept it from other schools. Ano lang po sir, kasi habang yun lang, dahil hindi natin makuha ang ano yung syempre kasi hindi nila nakuha. For a regular 24 hour, 24 units a day, or 55 units per day. Academic engagement is only common as a sabi ko, hintayin ko lang. Pero nung nalaman ko sa kanila, nire-reassess namin.
Are they ready? Who is ready now? Which group is ready now? Are you folks ready? And then the reaction will come from you because you have a microphone out there, but we listen to you. Ready na kayo dito?
Kasi di ba po yung sabi niyo sa meeting, kailangan mo na makakasama para maganda po yung lobby ng share. Pwede na. Yes.
Remember, don't read too much into the questions, please. Just take them at face value.
Excuse me for a bit, but I will be back. I'll be back.
It is 11 o'clock.
Nangungusta si Seth sa bakit ngayon lang pa. Dinirit ko na lang. Nagtanong kasi siya eh. Saan yung mga part-time nila? Sabi ko, from UBC, from Philippines. Saan sila nagtuturo. Tapos sabi ko, how much, how far the with the salary ng ibang kasi napakalayo.
This is why I'd like to present with Dr. Sager.
I think we need the first one in the interest of time.
Okay, may I have your attention, please? I think your time is up. So, can I call team leader of the group that is ready? Melcidit, are you okay? Ready? What is your case?
Right. The right side of the room is doing question 2, and the left side of the room is doing question 3.
Okay,
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
tell us what is the situation.
Yeah. Right.
What group you are?
Okay. For
Introduce yourself, please.
our situation.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Pia Villanueva, student nurse from Philippine Women's University. For our situation, sir, we have my 10-year-old is being bullied at school. Kids are calling him names. Such as fairy, bakla, dark tomboy. Okay. For most po, what we're going to do is to empathize with actually more of the role of the mother because the mother is the guide of the kid. What we'll be doing is we will be going to the school to clarify the situation, and then also particularly going to the guidance counselor to clarify the situation if there were such observations that the kid was being bullied. And then the second one is we'll be also talking to the child who is claiming that he's being bullied and who's been being called names. And then after which, also during the time that we'll be talking to the child, we'll be exploring the perspective of the child on what he wants to do about the situation. And also, upon further investigation of the whole scenario, so we'll be weighing the situation, balancing things out, the positive and the negative. If found that this is like the claims are being confirmed, then we'll go to the school to report the situation for documentation purposes, and we hope that things will get better after which. Okay, that's it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Second group, please.
Next group.
Good morning po, sir. Our situation for today...
Introduce yourself, please.
Yes. My name is Melcidit Bisunga. I'm from the level 2 of School of Nursing, Group 4. Our situation is about my partner and I were refused care at a local emergency room. So our nursing intervention is, as a nurse, every patient has their own rights to receive care. So whether we are a Filipino or American or a different nationality, every person in this world deserve to receive care and not be refused in an emergency or in a situational that is requiring immediate care. And under the House Bill 4982, Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity and Expression Equality Bill, since the law state that every citizen of this country should receive equality, whether it's under care of a hospital or in a different situation. So since I'm a Filipino nurse and we're dealing with diversity nowadays, since a lot of different countries traveled around the world, we should promote in our own very field the transcultural version of our own self to develop and perform a nursing care in every person of this world. So, yun. Thank you po.
Wait.
I think let's wait for your comment when every group has presented. May I call on group 2? Okay, who's the leader of group 2?
Okay, good morning. My name is Ivan Ningala from Caregiving Batch 4. Our situation is my 10-year-old is being bullied at school. Kids are calling him fairy, bakla, dyke, or tomboy. So first, what I'm gonna do as a nurse or a caregiver, I encourage to express the feelings and emotions.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You will encourage?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all
yes.
right, okay.
His feelings and emotions.
Go ahead.
Then I will provide explanation that are simple, honest, and within his level of understanding. And also, So that's it. And
All right,
so,
all right.
okay na.
And that, you know, I,
Good morning. So usually, a 10-year-old is emotional state. So whenever they are bullied, so I will help the girl or boy to express his or her feelings. So they will not suppress it by themselves. So being named gay or lesbian. So I will let him know that there is nothing wrong being a gay or lesbian or peri or whatever, as long as you know how to respect other people, and it does not define him or her of who he was. So there are people who will accept him or her, so whatever he is. So it's okay to cry and know that every human being is unique in their own way, and that makes them real. And also to forgive those who said that to him. Thank you.
okay, great. Wait. Wait, no. I need to hear from the other group.
That's an additional explanation. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Identify yourself.
Sorry, my name is Ebenezer,
Okay.
first year nursing student. To additional to my partners, as what they were discussing based on the issue on the board, to add to it, to discuss to the such situation, we need to first of all identify non-discrimination and equality to the such environment, for the person to feel that is not being rejected for such being in such situation or such as a tomboy or whatever discrimination that they are calling him or her, so that you can able to interfere, to able to bring the justice to the person. This is what we believe, that it is kind of, because it's not a prescription that one can prescribe, but perhaps it's emotional situation. So which you need to create a friendly environment so that it can be a balanced environment. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks.
One more group.
One more group.
Last group, may I call on Ms. Caballero?
Okay, good afternoon. Good morning. My name is Kristen Caballero. I am a second year. I am representing Group 3. My scenario is my partner and I refuse care at a local emergency room. So our two interventions would be piggybacking off your statement would be, well, for ours was to contact a social worker because the hospital cannot deny or refuse care to a patient in need, no matter based off their ethnicity or gender, sexuality preference, what may it be, because our job as nurses or anyone in the medical field is to care for anyone who need or seeks help. So the second would be, our second intervention would be serving as an advocate for those who cannot speak more onto why they can't, or why they just aren't given the help that they need. Maybe they need that additional voice, that additional reasoning, that bridge between the patient and the hospital. That's it.
Great. Thank you. Now, that's all very good. Can I make some comments here?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
sir. Okay, everybody has presented their output. Now, I think it's time to make some critique or comments with regards to their ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for being so bold as to come up with these answers to questions and present your views. Question number 2 about my 10-year-old being bullied at school. Yes, you want to provide support to that student, okay? But you guys are going to be working in the community, okay? If your 10-year-old is being bullied, what do you think's happening to other 10-year-olds? Right. There's probably, other kids who are encountering the same issues. Okay. Now you've gone to the guidance counselor and you've spoken to the guidance counselor and you've provided emotional support for the student. Think administration. Okay. You want to go into the administration. You want to talk to other parents. Okay. About getting something going to address the issue in the school. Okay. And as I said, talk to the other parents. Okay, form a committee, start a support group. Okay, for kids who are going through this problem. I picked 10-year-old. Maybe that's not a great age, but I know at 10 is about when I started to, be called names by people. So, that's why I went with that. But as I said, great. Thank you. Think groups. People are more powerful in groups. And you can, get something going, providing support to the kids, information, okay? When you educate kids, that it's okay to be different. Okay, the environment becomes much more friendly, but thank you. And, okay, I was interested, who presented for this group? You. Okay, I'm sorry, with the masks on, I can't see. Okay, all right. Okay, now you mentioned a bill, it has been passed? Okay, because nationally. Under yes, yeah. I didn't say internationally. I said national, but it's been passed internationally now. Okay, because I'm gonna go to the website that I got the information from. That it hasn't been passed. That it had gone through Senate, been approved by Senate, but it was kicked back by the president. Okay, looking for something a little bit more general, I think, but thank you, because that's important to know. I can now take that and correct my presentation. And okay, so that kind of puts a different slant on things. If it's already been passed, that's great. Okay, again, I want you guys to think administration. Okay, administration of the hospital. Okay, I want you to think about getting a group together again. Okay, if you and or your partner had been refused care, okay, this is an ongoing practice, more than likely an ongoing practice, at least with some staff in the facility. If not, according to the facility's policy. Okay, policies need to be changed, established, enforced. All right, and that's great. Thank you. Yeah. Any group has not presented? That's what I thought. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Question and answer? We have here, sir, we call it SOGI bill.
Okay.
SOGI. I don't know what, it's an acronym, but it's the one that lot of debates, controversy about this, proposed bill. So that's why until now, it's still on the table. We call it like SOGI bill. I don't know what does it mean.
Okay. No, but it's good to know because I need to find a reference to the name.
We call it SOGI bill, but I don't know what it's an acronym, but still not amended, not passed. So still a bill. Still they are still for reading and debates. So that's why we don't have a solid law pertaining to regarding this.
Right,
But the environment of universities are very friendly.
as I said, there are many municipalities, towns, regions, and past laws.
That's a local law. Local law. Yeah.
Right, but again, it remains law. And thank you for that.
I think it's SOGI bill. I don't know what's the exact meaning. That's an acronym. I will also search for that. So our, most of the universities here in Manila, they have actually embedded in their student services about the rights of LGBTQ. Now, the reality is these nurses will soon, they will be going out. Good for them if they want to see US or in Europe, where these things are acceptable, and it is like gender preferences is a normal human relation. Now, if we go to the Middle East, that's the thing that they have problems. Now, what we are doing as educators is they have, if they have this issue within their gender identity, they have to better choose a country where, their preferences is well accepted. But in Middle East, it's a
Hello.
it's a no-no. So that's why
We're going to go back to the transcultural presentation for another 25 minutes. And within that 25 minutes, you can ask questions or post comments. I have a lot more slides than what I can use for this. So we'll start with the slide and do some reflections. What do we do when we have reflection? We think deeper, right? Okay, so with the question, how much content, TCN content, do we have in the curriculum? Do we have a separate course in TCN?
right now, ma'am, we have 3 units for the new curriculum. Those students who are under CMO 15 will have 3 units about transcultural nursing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
So,
those students who belong to CMO 14, we did not choose transcultural as an elective course, but
aha.
instead we have
You put it as a required course, and it's three units.
now in CMO 15, it's really 3 units.
3 units.
Jed really insisted to have it as a separate course.
That is so commendable that you have that type of courses, and it is in the undergraduate, in the BSN program. What do you have in the graduate, in the master's, and the doctoral program?
Usually, ma'am, it's usually incorporated to legal aspects of nursing practice and some with governance pertaining to gender equality and, ethnic variation. It's embedded in those topics, but we don't have a separate units for both MAN and PhD class.
Do you plan to have a separate course in the graduate program?
Ma'am, if you will volunteer, we will open another specialization for Master of Arts in Nursing. specializing transcultural nursing. That would be very good, ma'am.
The answer is I do volunteer. And the second point is it would not be hard. It would not be difficult because I have a 3-credit course, diversity and transcultural nursing for the master's program. And it will lend nicely with your program because it's very flexible. What you could do with projects, like say, I could see an individual student planning care for, say, a Nigerian patient, or someone else doing for a Chinese patient, or like, say, for an Ilonggo patient of Chinese descent. Because if we look at our own culture in the Philippines, we are, remember historically, how many years were we under Hispanic rule?
400 years.
I thought it was 333, but I may have been off. But that colonization by Spain left us a lot of, customs and traditions. And then what happened after that? We were ceded by Spain to the United States, along with Cuba in 1898, after the United States defeated Spain. Okay, and after that, what happened to us? Japanese occupation.
Now Chinese.
Well, the Chinese were coming for 100 years to trade with us long before the Spaniards, quote unquote, discovered us in 1521. We had a very, very thriving society by then. What I'm trying to say is we're very, very diverse, even among, the Filipino culture. So yes, we should all be working on that through email, through messenger, all these other communications. Okay, do we have the support in adding transcultural concept? From the sounds of it, the College of Nursing have already initiated that movement where you have a 3-credit course in the undergraduate program and a planned 3-credit course for the master's as well as the doctoral program. And of course, with level objectives and competencies, you could just like enhance that accordingly. And administrative support, looks like you have that too from the university itself. And it seems like the faculty has all that support. Trying to negotiate around this. Okay. Remember I had mentioned that I just wanted to make sure that we talked about the difference between interpretation and translation. So in interpretation, it's with the spoken language. So from Tagalog, for example, into Japanese. So that's interpretation. Translation, a written message. So the key word is in writing. The other one is spoken, this one is in writing. And you do the translation. For example, you're doing research about Chinese mothers' postpartum depression, and you only have an English tool. So you will translate the tool from English to Chinese. And what's the back translation for? There's a movie, Professor Lupena. I believe it's Lost in Translation. When you translate a work from one language to another, what's the danger? There might have been a richness of content that may be lost in the process. Hence the back translation. So that's important. Oh, regionalism is something to consider when thinking about interpretation. For example, if you're in, well, I'll just use the example I have. My student and I were taking care of a Pakistani patient who did not speak any English. So we used the language access services and asked for a Pakistani translator who came up online, did the translation. In the United States, they now have like a dual phone. So one phone for, the patient and then another one for the nurse. What happened then, it was a single phone. So we were giving it to the patient and back to us. So it was like a more involved process. But after we were done, the interpreter said, next time, get a Punjabi interpreter instead of a Pakistani. Because apparently, heritage-wise, remember when India and Pakistan were divided into two nations, of course, they separated families and stuff. That particular patient had a lot more heritage with the Indian, with the Punjabis, than the Pakistani. So in other words, to apply it to our own situation, say you're taking care of a Visayan patient, so if the interpreter is like, say, from Manila, a Visayan interpreter would capture a lot more of that richness. Because when you're interpreting or translating, what's the main responsibility? First of all, you would keep confidentiality. Second of all, the accuracy of the interpretation is really paramount. And sometimes with regionalism, it's like, it's different. Like, for example, we're used to the English language from grade school on in the Philippines. Some of our students do not have that advantage. Like maybe in China, you didn't speak English when you were in grade school, unless probably you're from a family who could afford a tutor or who could afford for you to go to an international school. Why do you think it is good to use a medical interpreter? For those reasons. Like you're saying in the group work, there are some legal aspects of care. So the patient is protected under those. Okay. Why do you think there will be an avoidance of the healthcare system if people are not satisfied with the care that they have? Anyone? So I'm looking at the time, Dr. Di Maculangan, because I know I have 25 minutes left. No. By now, it's 10 minutes. Why would adverse outcomes happen if, the provider as well as the patient are not understanding each other? For obvious reasons, right? That a misdiagnosis could happen. And then the satisfaction, I already had mentioned that. Financial. it will be more expensive if you don't use an interpreter and any of those things would happen. Prevention, like they say, is worth a lot more than, treatment. And then by their satisfaction, they are more, they will seek care better. Sometimes diagnostic testing are done because, there's miscommunication. This is a very short case study. And if we read it can you all see it from the back? Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes to read. So in other words, if you're a nurse doing your assessment and you saw this, in this case, they already called someone for abuse. But what do you think is going on? You probably have seen it in one of the communities here because it's under heat and cold. In many cultures, we believe that when the bad wind goes inside the body, we have imbalance, and then there are some discomfort. And this is one of the folk healing practices. Every culture has some generic or folk healing. What does it mean? That's what you usually do before you actually go to a doctor. Maybe you'll go to an espiritista or go to like a Santiguar first. Okay, does anyone know what those marks are from? Raise your hand. No? What do you think is going on? Anyone? Be brave. You folks over here. Any guess? What is the mark? What are the marks from? I heard ventosa from someone. Ventosa is when you put a heated glass to get rid of that wind I was talking about. This actually is not from ventosa. This is from coining, which is very common in Vietnam. I did my dissertation in Vietnam, and I was there like teaching the nurses for a couple of weeks. 3 times. Yes, it's coining. With the use of a coin, you rub a heated coin along along the spine, or you could use like a wooden spoon or like a coconut thing. So that in the United States, sometimes when people see that, they'll assume like. One of my students would say, I think he was hit by a belt. And I said, well, think about it. A belt would have hit you randomly. It's not going to be like so symmetrical. So it just gives us that, again, time to reflect and say, what is going on with this patient? Instead of, assuming. Mr. Sagar had used the word assume also. Assume, if you write it, and I may be disrespectful if I write it there, it's going to be ASS, and then you, and then me. I will not say it because it might, like I said, it might be disrespectful. Oh, okay. This would have been the group work that I was gonna ask you, but maybe we could just do a very, and I need the students. What two concepts, because faculty is saying you have it, and some of you have a separate course, but what actual concepts have you learned in your coursework that reflect diversity and transcultural nursing? Any students, no faculty this time? Any concepts that you have learned or you're studying or you review? Those second year students specifically, anything? You could say, oh, when we studied maternal and child nursing, they have not had maternal and child health yet. You have. Like say, when you tell a mother, oh, would you like some cold water, for example, what would they usually say? Normal, like tap water. Because remember, again, with the theory of heat and cold, they would have lost a lot of the heat in their body during the delivery period, and so they don't want to lose it anymore. Any other thing you learned? Anything? I think you're thinking of your next class and how you're going to quickly eat and go to your next class. The second question is, if you have, you know, an opportunity to add, what will you add to the curriculum? Being that, you know, you're hearing that there's globalization, that at some point in your life you would be caring for patients who are of different culture. What do you think should be added? Ma'am, they can talk, right? They're just like suggesting.
Actually, ma'am, we also have that foreign language. They have an elective, general elective subject, which is Mandarin. Yeah, we included language. And for the placement of transcultural nursing, that's why I think they are so silent, because the placement of subject would be on the last year. So they don't have yet. That's why they're very silent. They cannot.
I don't think you are a silent group. My husband and I are quite impressed with the way you did your group work and the way you participated. Because we actually were, like I said, we had 735 people at our Balikturo, which was from 8 o'clock in the morning to like 3 p.m. So it was even longer. And you did quite great with your group work. And I'm going to end my presentation here because I know there are other parts of the program. And again, I want to thank the College of Nursing, PWU in general, and you who are future nurses, and you know, for listening to us, paying attention in this workshop. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sagar. Now, we will formally open our question and answer portion, so we can entertain about 2 to 3 questions, okay, for the students as well as for the faculty. Anybody? Sige, ako na lang. So,
It
can I...
doesn't have to be a question. Okay?
Yeah,
it
any
can be a
comment,
comment, positive,
violent
negative.
reaction.
You know, you know, we're also here to learn from you, okay? You're not just here to learn from us, okay? There's something called critiquing, okay? And you are perfectly willing to critique as long as we keep the language, decent.
Okay, so can I will start. Okay, Dr. Segar, I was interested in your transcultural nursing. So it is actually included in the new curriculum, the theoretical foundation of nursing, and in the PhD program as well as on the master's. However, this subject is purely limited to theory. We don't have any way of experiencing actual transcultural nursing except for the thesis of our students based abroad. So we tackle that. We are able to learn something from them because of their experiences, especially students from Qatar. So they just came in last week, they were there. So would it be possible, wild ambition, to partner with your school? For our master's or PhD student, just to have OJT in America, because that is the only way that our student can really immerse, with this transcultural nursing idea, and as well as get a first-hand experience on doing their interventions or having to assess themselves in terms of culture care competency, because we get a lot of theses, in this area. So that is my question, or that is my wild ambition.
Okay, I think you have like 3 questions in one. You're asking how to integrate TCN in the clinical area, especially an immersion, possibly partnering with schools in the United States. And the other thing is, so first, I could explore the possibility of that partnership. Some schools are already doing that. Yes, and when I was in Vietnam in 2015, there were students from the University of California doing their community health nursing in Hue, in middle Vietnam. The other answer is how to integrate it in the clinical. Other than immersion from other countries, you could also assign students. Instead of all nursing care plans, like generic, maybe you could assign a care plan caring for a patient from Nigeria, for a patient from China, or Singapore, because they could easily do that. They could interview a patient. So in other words, you need not wait for an actual immersion, which is a good thing also, because I'm sure our students in the United States would benefit so much if they could come actually and, immerse themselves in cultural care here. Did I answer your question?
Anybody else? And faculty? I'll ask another question.
Just sharing. I used to work in the state of Texas, and just near Texas is Mexico. And in the hospital where I work, usually we have 1 nurse to 6 patients. And on that particular day, I have 5 patients. 2 Americans, one Mexican, one Russian, and one Vietnamese. So you can just imagine transcultural nursing. And in that, one strategy that the hospital did is to provide nurses with a small booklet. So when you open this booklet, there are already translation from English to Mexican. And I still remember that every time I entered my patient's room, I will be telling my patient, mi nombre es Alicia Lupena. ¿Cómo está usted? Which means, how are you? And then my problem arose because of the Russian. Okay? It is so, the hospital do not have an interpreter for the Russian patient. And in its room, there is a whiteboard. So what I did is, when the family came in the afternoon to visit the patient, I asked them if you can write it in the whiteboard, good morning, good afternoon, how are you hurting? Of course, that was several years ago. The only thing that I remembered is dobre jutra, which means good morning. And you know what? Another thing that I have noticed is because the trend now in foreign countries is they already have a menu for the patient, wherein they will choose what food they want to eat. And I think I have shown this to my nutrition class, if you remember, because in that menu, which are 3 folds, there is already some choices: Mexican food, Chinese food, Vietnamese food. So there is really, application of these things because of diversity. Thank you.
Okay, there is one last question from the student.
Good morning po. I'm Melcidit po from level 2. I have a question po for Sir Sagar. Related po sa related to your topic a while ago about mental health. What if we encountered a patient who is experiencing discrimination issue, and they're about to commit suicide or attemption to commit suicide? Or what could we possibly do as nurses to help them, which are cannot be seen in the book, or only be seen in experience and in the field itself?
Now, that's a great question. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. As I mentioned, people who are subject to discrimination, persecution, okay, do often demonstrate much greater frequency of depression, okay, as well as anger, anxiety, and suicide tends to be much higher in these populations. So your question is, as a nursing caregiver, what can I do? Okay. Am I understanding correctly? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Now, first off, I'd have to say, it depends upon the scenario. Where are you? Okay. Having worked in many fields of nursing, which is why I became a nurse, because I knew I was interested in a lot of things. I worked in the community, okay, and I've had patients, report suicidal ideation in the community. And the first thing I did was to call the local medical center, where I knew they had a psychiatric intervention team. Okay, and I asked for guidance. All right, and of course they invariably ask, well, how bad do you think the situation is? Well, that's why I went into psychiatry, because I had no real way of determining that myself. And what often happens is they will tell you, call an ambulance, have the patient brought in, okay? If need be, you call the police, okay? Because the police are allowed to restrain people in, of course, appropriate situations, because you may need police transport for the patient, okay? In the hospital or a care, an institutionalized care setting, it can be different, okay? But it's basically the same steps, all right? Talk to somebody, particularly, I'm a new graduate, okay? And one of my patients says, oh, if things don't change around here, I'm gonna commit suicide, okay? Right. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to jump out of a window. I'm going to shoot myself, blah, blah, blah. That's one of those situations where you can kind of say, well, this is somebody who's just, excuse the expression, pissed off about things, the way things are occurring. And it's not really suicidal ideation, okay? They're just angry, okay, with the situation that they're facing. Okay, if somebody has made a statement such as, I want to kill myself, all right, well, in the hospital, okay, of course you want to determine why, what happened, has something triggered this, okay, are they hearing voices, okay, that are telling them, you're a worthless piece of, and you should end your life right now, okay? And that happens to people. Remember I mentioned that even people who are depressed can be so depressed they have, psychotic symptoms. They hear voices or, feel that people are, in general, persecuting them. Okay, so again, the steps are get somebody who knows. Okay, now, if your hospital doesn't have a psychiatric ward, you may need to have this patient transported to a psychiatric ward, okay? Problem with that is because if you're in a medical unit, many psychiatric facilities don't accept people with medical care needs, okay? So then you have to get a little bit creative. You assign the patient what's called a one-to-one. Okay, in other words, you put somebody with that person to stay with them, okay, until they can be evaluated by a qualified mental health worker, okay, which may be in, a couple hours, it may be, okay, all right, okay, answer your question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Segar. Thank you. Okay, we have one last question from a foreign student. So, last one. Pinagbigyan ko na. Okay,
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Drew, please, I want to ask this question concerning about sexual preferences. Just like earlier on your presentation, it was stated that on the year 2000, was the first initiator for same-sex marriage. All right. Now, according to 2004, on the 17th of May, it says that Massachusetts was the first legal same-sex marriage. Massachusetts, which was... Sorry?
I saw that also.
Okay.
But then I saw that Vermont... I'm sorry, I had seen that reference online, but then when I looked further, it said that Vermont was the first, it may be the reference I used was wrong. Okay, suffice it to say, it happened in New England a lot earlier than it happened in New York. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Okay, anything else?
All right. I just want to clarify the year. And according to the law, that it was stated that the law of Supreme Court, as they initiated, it was found unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to find, is there any law governing on state? Because up to now, there's a whole lot of, it's everywhere, breakouts everywhere.
Right, right. And again, thank you for your statements, questions. There is no national law, okay? There have been problems with people being allowed, people of same-sex relationships, forming a legal union, okay? And, sometimes they have to go to a different state. Okay, this is important for example, the transfer of benefits. All right, and just to back up a little bit, I think the question earlier asked me about, was geared more towards persecution, the persecution issue, and I just wanted to make sure that I'd answered that appropriately, because your real issue when somebody reports suicidal ideation is not persecution, okay? It's suicidal ideation. That's a psychiatric emergency.
I just have one question, either for Dr. Priscilla and also for Dr. Lopena, because they've also worked abroad. No? I think as much as there is a big demand for nurses locally, I still think that many of the students that we have here still also have dreams of working abroad, where the pay is much higher. That is the reality of it. Dr. Priscilla and Dr. Alicia, what was it about your PWU education that helped you succeed working in a foreign country, or helped you succeed working internationally? Because as we talked about earlier, the natural personality of Filipinos or Filipinas is that they are more subdued, less assertive as compared to their foreign counterparts. So what was it about the PWU education that helped you succeed in your field internationally?
Thank you, sir.
For me specifically, it is both the curriculum for nursing as well as the extracurricular activity, the balance between the two of them. As I shared earlier, I was president of the student body. By the time I was in the 5th year, it was a 5-year program. And I was also writing for the newspaper since I was a junior. By the time I was, I think 4th year, I was editor of the university paper and the College of Nursing paper. So there was a lot of extracurricular enrichment. Also the moral, social, and civic education is very helpful, because that did not just guide us morally, educationally, but also socially, how to sit at the table, how to comport yourself when you're sitting down, when you're getting off a car. These are little things, but it really is the total education of a woman that really made me successful. And I wasn't afraid to try things. Like they say, oh, they are auditioning for people to write for the newspaper. Somebody said, oh, they probably will not be able to accept us anymore, this and that. And I always think you could always try, and if you don't succeed, then you could do it next time.
I was 12 years old when I entered the walls of PWU. Yeah, because I was here in high school. And of course, I do agree that the subject moral, social, civic education was very, very important to us. Because first, we have to focus on ourselves. How to develop a good personality, learn how to deal with people. And then when we reach second year, the moral, social, civic education class focuses on the family. The values of the family, my role and my responsibility towards my family. The third year, when we reach the third year, it focuses on the community. My role and responsibility to the people in the community. And of course, the last one is my role towards my profession. So really, this is something that since our president is here, I think this is something that we should bring back. And when I was a student, remembering Anastasia Heron Tupas, who is a founder of a great nursing organization in the Philippines. And of course, Rosario Sison Diamante. You know, I was already a student when Anastasia Heron Tupas was our dean. And of course, when Rosario Sison Diamante became one of became one of our dean, and I even have a team teaching with her in the subject research. So really our, the leadership in the Department of Nursing was really, really very nice. And of course, even up to this point in time, under the leadership of Dr. Diala, we are still, getting these things. And I was 60 years old when I decided to go to the United States. When I joined PWU in 1973, and when I reached the age of 60, a sister of mine who was also my former student and also a graduate of the College of Nursing was really the one who pushed me to come back to the United States, learn something new, learn the technology. So I really have to face it. At age 60, I have to take all those tests. And eventually I passed it, and I did 11 years of nursing care, bedside nursing care in the United States. And finally, I came back in 2016 because really I would like to share it with our student. Although my last 2 years in Dallas, I also joined the teaching force because I taught in a school of nursing there, and it really helped me a lot because I have a lot of nursing students, Mexican, American, Vietnamese. So really, working with different group of nursing students I have learned a lot of experience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sagar. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have one more comment, okay? And that is just to let you guys know, the students here, that Filipino nurses are among the most respected nurses in the United States, okay? All hospitals want that. Want you.
Okay, future nurses. Okay, get your inspiration from them. Okay, now let us present the certificate of appreciation and token to our keynote speakers. May I invite Sir Marco Benitez, Dr. Minerva de Ala, okay, to present the, ayan, okay. So, the Philippine Women's University School of Nursing and PWU Nursing Alumni Association awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Drew Sagar for sharing his expertise as a keynote speaker in the seminar entitled Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, given the 7th day of February 2020 at Seminar Room, PWU, Taft Avenue, Manila, signed Professor Alicia Lopena, Dr. Minerva de Ala, and the University President, Mr. Marco Benitez. Thank you, sir. So, the same certificate will be awarded to Dr. Priscilla Limbo Segar for sharing her expertise as a keynote speaker in the seminar Transcultural Nursing, given 7th day of February 2020 at Seminar Room 2, PWU, signed Professor Alicia Lupena, Dr. Minerva de Ala, and the University President, Mr. Marco Benitez.
So before I let Dr. Priscilla go, I think we have to thank her. From the bottom of our hearts, we would like to thank Dr. Sager, Dr. Priscilla, and Dr. Drew Sager for taking the time out of their busy schedules. They came all the way from the US to share and to inspire this new generation of nurses. And for all of you here, this is an example, Dr. Priscilla, Dr. Alicia, this is an example of what the PW education can help you achieve. It shows you that as long as you take your education seriously, anything is possible. So they are among the icons of the PWU nursing program. And I must admit, when I visited the alumni homecoming there, the PW nursing alumni or alumnae are among the most active, no, and the most vibrant group of alumni that we have. So you are in very good company. No? And again, we would like to thank them.
May I add something? When you were asking us what made us successful as PWU graduates, I wanted to add that the administration support is wonderful. Like you being here, and as a student, I was interviewing Mama B for the Philominian and looking up to her and thinking that in the future, I could do something about nursing that would make PWU very proud. Thank you all.
I just wanted to add, I'm not really a doctor, I just look like one. I'd like to say I played one on TV. I am first and foremost a registered nurse. I did a graduate program, and fortunately, the college that Dr. Sager was teaching in at the time, and no, she wasn't one of my professors, that wasn't allowed, and a post-grad in nursing, in mental health nursing, from Stony Brook University. Okay, hence I'm certified as a nurse practitioner. Okay, and as such can diagnose and prescribe. And I wanted to just say thank you very much for the opportunity of being here. Okay, it is greatly appreciated to have been allowed to present to folks.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Sagar and Dr. Sagar. Okay, we are now into the culminating part. So to give us a closing remark to end the program, may I call on our Dean, Dr. Minerva B. De Ala.
Dr. Marco Benitez, our University President, Professor Alicia Lupena, our President for PWU NAA, Dr. Celeste de Baculangan, the BP for Internal Affairs of PWU NAA, faculty members, guests, Dr. Priscilla Sagar, Mr. Drew Sagar, students, good morning. Having an alumni to come and see us is a thing to thank for. We are so blessed to be recipients of your talk pertaining to your expertise. Our students here would greatly benefit of the updates that you have shared to us. This will help them better nurses in the future, not only in managing clients' cases, carrying out nursing procedures or interventions, but more importantly, to deal with the demands in the workplace. Such demands are not limited to technical and conceptual skills that a nurse should have, but to effectively work with others. The complexity in the healthcare delivery requires nurses to be competent in their practice, and this would also include the ability to provide patient-centered care, employing evidence-based practice, observing quality improvement, utilizing informatics, and more to work with interdisciplinary professionals in which transcultural nursing is important, or better known as cultural congruent care. That's what Dr. Priscilla had talked. We know pretty much that most of you, dear students, wants to go abroad or work abroad. The updates that you just received now from our dear speakers are so relevant. Let's continue to uphold the image and reputation as the most trusted healthcare providers. We claim it, right? And may I take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming, especially for our speakers, resource speakers, for taking from your very busy time to see us and share your expertise. And of course, to the working committee who made this for their invaluable commitment and dedication to made all this preparation. I'm very thankful for them because I'm out for some days. They made a terrible job of this preparation. Okay, I will say it. Good morning.
Okay, with that, we end this activity. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Let's give one more time. Let's give them a big round of applause. And of course, our university president, thank you for taking time to grace with our prayer. Oh, we have a photo shoot. Okay, may we invite Dr. Sagar, Mr. Sagar, Ma'am Lupena, Sir Marco. Faculty, we'll start with you, then we will have our students. Would you like that? Take your picture with them. Okay. Oh, yeah, a documentation. All right, so documentation committee, Dr. Seeger wants us to have a copy of your output. Later, ma'am, dito na lang natin kunan. Pag ganon, dito na lang sila harap. Asan yung nagpipicture? Ma'am, mamaya, doon na lang sila uupo, pakarap sa estudyante. Oo. Ma'am. Students, thank you very much for coming.